Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Down Unders. I do apologize for being a little bit late today, guys. I've been running around a little bit, but the man Brody, always here, always on time. How you been, my brother? How was your week so far?
Not always on time, bro. We all have those days, brother. I'm good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, good, bro. Good. Yeah, as I said, just running around late. But Brody, my man, just messaged me. He was like, "We got a show on today, bro." I was like, "Fuck, that's right. Run around, get everything sorted." But guys, thank you so much for all tuning in. As always, massive show tonight. A lot of news going around rugby league currently right now. Obviously, the DC news around the Manly Seagulls. We will touch on that very, very shortly. The Dylan Walker news around the Warriors. A crazy bit of news going on there. And a couple of big injuries coming into this week that I think is going to change a lot of the outlook for a lot of clubs in rugby league. So where do you reckon we should start, my brother? What are you feeling? What topic are you feeling early on?
Look, well, let's start with the biggest news, right? Let's start with the DCE news. I guess that's the biggest news going around the league at the moment. Let's get a jump on that.
All right, let's get straight to it, brother. So DCE has come out and announced that he will not be returning to Manly in 2026. A lot of issues going on in the background. There was rumors on whatever type of contract that Manly offered him. There was no formal offer. And then come mid-show on NRL 360, while DCE was out saying that he will not return to Manly, they shoot him a 2-year offer. From memory, it was 2 years, right?
2 years, 1.5.
$1.5 million, bro. Have you ever seen anything like this? DC, obviously front footing with the media and all that, has put this whole thing in a total spin. The Manly Seagulls trying to get ahead of all the negative press and stuff around all this. What side are you more so looking at with this deal here? DC side, Manly side? Where are you kind of sitting? And what does this mean for other clubs in the competition before we talk about some places that maybe he can go to?
Yeah, look, I'm probably one of the harshest critics of DC. Not even a critic. I'm a hater, I guess. Let's just say I'm a hater. Not a fan of DC. Never really liked the guy and how he carried himself. He doesn't do anything wrong. Don't get me wrong. He's just a Queenslander, and he's a smug little prick. But I am 100% on DC's side here. All that he has given Manly, I think. There was a stat that he's only missed 23 games in his time at Manly, and most of that's due to Origin as well. Not even a personal injury. So everything that he has given Manly, it's just utter disrespectful. It's not even a negotiation back and forth. It's just a straight up, we're not even offering you anything. And then to lowball like that, when you got guys like Dylan Brown getting 1.3 million a season, and DC's still carrying himself a lot better than majority of these guys. Yeah. It's very disrespectful, is what I've got to say about that.
Oh, 100%. Tans is definitely right there with you. It's all right, Brody. I don't like him either. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, he's not like the most lovable player in rugby league, but we can definitely respect what he's done in the game and that, and he probably definitely deserves a lot more. Being a Manly legend at the club, like it gives you similar sort of thoughts of what happened with Adam Reynolds with the South Sydney Rabbitohs. But I think the worst point on this one was they pretty much went out flat out and said, we will not be offering you a contract if no other club's going to be offering you a contract yet. Pretty much saying that they're going to give him the lowest offer and try to go on his live value instead of going off of what other clubs probably are looking at paying him and stuff like that. And then he pretty much front-footed and said, well, if that's going to be the way it is, then I'm not returning to Manly in 2026. And that kind of put him into a full breakdown of like, no, we need to get on top of this, saying there's no issue. We're giving him a contract, like everything's going to be okay. And they pretty much missed the mark overall. So I'm with you, bro. I'm on DCE's side. I think the way that they've kind of worked around these things and the way they've tried to cover up everything through the media is really crazy. But I think the real curious thought is here. We'll touch on where does he go? Where's your best sort of placement for DC? I know we've spoken about this at work with a couple of clubs. I've got a Smokey in mind. That shout out to the Rugby League Guru. He's already hit a nail on the head what I already thought when we were speaking about it earlier. But what are the clubs coming to mind? Dolphins, stuff like that. Is that where your head's at the moment?
Yeah. I think just touching on the back of Manly and how much they've dropped the ball here is, how are any of their players supposed to feel secure if their captain, that's been the long-standing legend there for a while in that team, all the experience, Australia, Queensland, and they've done him dirty like that? How are any of their other players supposed to feel appreciated, safe, comfortable? and wanting to be a part of that club. You know, when their
100%.
captain is getting done dirty like that, like it's not a good look for Manly as a club and the way that the boards handled themselves. But yeah, as for teams chasing him, look, there's a lot of people out there after a halfback right now. So
Yeah.
I think the leading contenders for me will be Redcliffe. And I think maybe North Queensland if they can free up some cap space there. Just for the simple fact he is a Queensland boy. You know, he grew up here. They're my two that I think he'll go to, and then Roosters obviously depending if they want to throw some good money at him to really train up Sam Walker.
Yeah, we all know the Roosters will be sitting around and, obviously checking their checkbooks and see what they could do, getting DC over for a couple of years. It's been heavily rumoured that the Sydney Roosters are going after Kalen Ponga in 2028, from memory with that. So, whether they want to fill out their checkbook with DC in between that period and when those guys are in, you get in KP. Also, Reece Robson comes to the club next year with the Roosters. So I'm curious if that was a play there for the Roosters, how that would work with Sam Walker, how he didn't really click too well with Luke Keary. Would he be able to click with someone like a DCE?
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll learn a lot more from him, to be honest, and more so trying to gel with him. I think it'll be more of a learn from him. I didn't think that Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt would click too well, but they're kind of doing that really well. I think Sammy Walker would take every bit of experience he could get from somebody like DC.
100%. But back to the other ones, I think, me and you've got the same sort of view set. I've probably got the Dolphins number one, just being more so of like he grew up at Redcliffe, stuff like that, going back home to end off his career. Kind of seems like the fairy tale ending in a way. North Queensland Cowboys are probably just under that for me. I was thinking about a lot of it today. Pairing up with Tommy Dearden, that halves pairing would be really deadly with Scotty Drinkwater out the back. The other one that came out of my mind, it's a Smoky, but it's the Doggies. And that's what I was saying before. Like, I was listening to a couple of podcasts today, and Rugby League Guru and Bloke and Bar came together. They did their podcast on it, the emergency podcast, and Guru is like, the Doggies. And I was like, fuck, that was my Smoky. Like, honestly, I could see it if depending on how the Doggies feel about how close they are to being in a premiership race. Coming into the year, if they go 2 years for DCE, Mitch Woods has still got a little bit of time. He's injured currently this year. You still got Alex Cotoni. You got like a lot of good Joseph O'Neill. You got a good halves there that will be learning under him. And also, that halves pairing with him and Birdo, I think Birdo could learn a lot from him as well. And I think that would be a really cool little halves pairing for you guys. I think that's like sort of like when we're looking at the Doggies is like maybe just that one superstar missing out of the way in a way as well. So a couple of years out of that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, as we touched on before, the Roosters are definitely going to be around about there with the checkbook. Any other teams that could be real smokies in your opinion? Also, what do you reckon the Doggies sit pretty nice for you or?
Oh, when you told me about it yesterday at work, I was like, fuck no. Like, I hope not. But that was my heart speaking. And then, time to reflect on it and think about it. Well, if we really wanted to be premiership threats now and look to buy that next player that could take us there next year, by all means, DC could really slot in and control that team nicely. And I do think that is what we are missing a little bit is when it gets down to nitty gritty and we need some points on the board, we're not attacking. We don't quite have that. Like Birdo does such a good job with his boot and we miss that on the weekend. Yeah. And our defense and our middle forwards still find a way to get the job done and Critter leading. But, DC would be a good option in the halves there to really just control it a lot more to that point where we'll be a top 4 team and really contending. But if we don't get him, by all means, I'm happy to sit patiently. I love how we're building. I just hope if we do get him, it doesn't ruin what we are building. I think that the young halves will learn off him, but I hope they also don't get disheartened like they're now going to have to wait another 2 years. And that's my only worry. And then also you get a guy like DC there that's demanded big money. Well, that means that your next halfback's going to try and be demanding that same money as him, if you get me. So
exactly.
I think a bit could go wrong there, and you don't want to rock the boat if you've got a good system going and what you're building. But by all means, if we really wanted to press the emergency button on trying to win a grand final, I could see it happening with DCE there at the Doggies, but I really hope not. The heart says no, but the head's like, oh, okay, maybe. But the other smoky for me is maybe England. You know, if there's no if there's no money left for any team to free him up at the drop of a hat, because nobody would have thought DC was going to have to be on the market. You know, so nobody was expecting to have to pay that. And you know, the Knights have already gone hard on Dylan Brown. I bet if they knew this news, they maybe would have held off and maybe made a play at DCE for 2 years and, you know, see where they go with DCE and Ponga for a while. So, yeah, I don't know. England's probably the other one for me.
I was going to think is like, how much cap space would Newcastle Knights have after all their saga, right? They wouldn't be able to do it, eh? Like, could you imagine if they weren't able to pull off a halves pairing of DC, Dylan Brown and Kalen Ponga? It kind of changes things a lot, but the amount of money they've threw at Dylan Brown, I think that takes away from that opportunity in a way. So this is what happens when clubs go big into certain players, trying to do the big chase. Sometimes it doesn't come your way. Obviously, a question here from Jacko. We don't know, obviously, the Doggies' budget, but from the offseason, you chasing Ryan Papenhuyzen and stuff like that, I think that you still probably have a little bit of money in your budget to chase him, but it would probably throw things just a little bit out of whack.
Yeah, look, they freed up Carl Olopawatu and they freed up Ryan Sutton in the last 2 months that have both left the Doggies. So I don't know how much other cap space they had, but I dare say between those two guys, that's probably about 550, 600 a season, maybe. Yeah. On top of that, I don't know how much more cap space they did have there, Jacko. But I know that we still had money left over from that time where we were really under the pump with our cap space, and then we finally got it all back, and that's why you have seen the influx of Doggies players. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they'll do it, but Gus Gould wouldn't hold back if he was to come out and say we're interested or not. He would have done it by now. So to really throw his hat in the ring, he wouldn't mess around with something like that. We know he's quick to pull the trigger on things.
Yeah, he's usually a very ruthless operator, and a lot of this stuff does come out in the media that he will be chasing certain players. So not to hear of it yet probably gives it more of like maybe not. But I'm sure that he'll have a sneaky little eye on the whole situation and how that's going to play out as well. The last little side I want to talk about is the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And whether I've seen rumors of a couple of different things, so just stay with me here on this. But number one could be just a straight DCE. I know Jamie Humphrey's done really well at the moment. Whether they want to, you know, rock the boat, obviously keep him in like a little around we could play 14, stuff like that, but go DCE and Cody Walker for a 7. I don't know how much cap space they really have as well. But the other one I'm hearing is maybe if Adam Reynolds wants to finish off his career at the Rabbitohs, come back with Wayne Bennett, right? And DC goes to the Broncos. I think that's a little bit too far-fetched, but what were your thoughts on that sort of situation? Do you think the Rabbitohs have an opportunity there for either one of those guys to come?
I don't think either of those options are a good option. I don't think that's a good fit for the Rabbits. Yeah. I think what they got in Humphreys is good, and they should build on that. And as for the Broncos, I think they need to look for young after they're done with Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt. I don't think Adam Reynolds deserves to get another shaft after he's made himself a home there in Brisbane. So I think none of those moves are a good fit. I think DCE's best moves are back in Queensland, and I think it's with the Dolphins or with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm definitely bang on with you there too, brother. Guys, thank you so much for everyone that's jumping over from Wise Up TV. Levon's just finished up his emergency stream on the Dylan Walker situation. All the guys have just redirected straight to our stream. So thank you so much, Levon, for directing everyone over here. I appreciate all you guys jumping on to after that stream. Hopefully that all went well over Wise Up TV. We may as well get straight into it. Other big news going around the week, bro. Dylan Walker, effective immediately, leaves the New Zealand Warriors and goes to the Parramatta Eels on a 2-year deal, from memory. Due to, obviously, compassionate grounds. Really disappointed, really sad as a Warriors fan in general, but as a neutral fan, what's your thoughts on the situation there? I can say all the positives of the world make myself feel better, but you looking from the outside in, like, what's your thoughts on that situation? Is there any positives here, negatives? What are you thinking?
Well, I don't think you've had too much to say on this at the moment, brother. So I'll let you take lead, and then I'll filter in as a spectator. I'll let you take lead on this one, brother. I know he's part of your club, and you've got high raps on Dylan Walker, so I'll let you take lead there, brother.
Yeah, like, he's been such a big part of our club in the last 3 years. I would probably argue that he's been up there for one of, if not the best utility players in the competition, like 14s off the bench. 2023 season, he really took the world by storm with the Ball brothers, the way they connected in the middle there. And in 2024, in such a down year where Tohu Harris was out with a chronic injury, he stepped up in that moment there, even though in a poor injury year, and he stepped up. He did really, really well.
And played through injury himself as well.
Exactly. And coming to this year, I really do think that his leadership in preseason looked like it stepped up to a whole new level. It did look like that he was settled. I thought that he would help Metcalf and that as much as he could to develop those boys outside of him. I think that he really led a lot of our really good attacking shape as well. So those are all the disappointing parts that I think we lose with him, obviously, overall. I think the positives that I keep coming up with at the top of my head is I've been saying that this is going to be a development year for us in general anyway. We are a club that's now swinging towards looking to the future. And with all the people that are moving away from us with Adam Fanor-Blake, a lot of the Aussie players that we brought over during COVID, unfortunately, are all starting to filtering out. And I don't think this is going to be the last one either. So that's probably the more disappointing part of it. I think that with his age, if we were giving him another couple of years, yeah, he probably would have been good for a year or two, and then maybe he would have been towards the back end of his career by that point as well. So that's a little bit of a worry. And we also get a lot more of an minute share now with our juniors that everyone's been looking for and everyone's been waiting for. Lek Alasima, Dimitri Vaimwanga, even Jacob Laban, now Sam Healy, that probably will come onto the bench now over the weekend due to this move. That's my positive to it, is more of looking at as the fact of those young kids now have a bigger opportunity to step up in this level. A lot of people have been waiting for these kids to get there. Now the minutes are going to go that way. And due to, obviously, Dylan Walker, he wasn't going to stay anyway. There was a lot of stuff going on in the background with his family that he wanted to move back to Sydney. So I think he held in for as long as he could. He got a deal with the Parramatta Eels. We said goodbye. So obviously very sad, very disappointed. I think he's going to be really good for the Parramatta Eels. But on our end, if I'm trying to stay positive, we get to see our young juniors. We get to grow to the future. And if we've ripped the Band-Aid off now, at least it gives us time to learn, to grow over the season and really learn what it is without Dylan Walker. But definitely it's going to be a big loss for us, I think, this season. But that's what I'm thinking in general anyway.
Yeah, look, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, brother, on a lot of your points. What he had to offer going forward for the Warriors, not a lot, football-wise. Yeah, on the field-wise. But the leadership-wise is what will be missed, I reckon. Losing Tohu, Shawnee, Ads, I don't think Ads was much of a leader there other than just by actual how he played the footy. He didn't really probably have a big voice, but Dylan Walker's definitely one of those guys with a big voice. And you're right, he has been killer for you guys off the bench the last 3 years. Every time he comes on, you know when he's come on, there's a bit of a momentum swing there. So that will be missed. I think you guys have a really good junior system at the moment that is going to benefit a lot from this. I think you're 100% right on that. And I think it is the right time to move on. It's a bit disruptive, mid-season. Webby would have had his preseason built around Dylan Walker being there all year, and that's a little bit of a step back, and that's going to hurt. But I think long-term, give it a few weeks, you guys will be all right, and the spotlight's going to be there for somebody to grab and be that next utility, that next leader off the bench. All I can say is it's even better now, the signing of James Fisher-Harris to really lead through the middle there, because you are pretty short on leaders at the moment. And now RTS doing his hamstring as well and will be out. I know he's still going to be around the team and around the boys, but that's another leader on the field that you're going to be lacking. So I'm very, very curious to see who's going to put their hand up and raise their voice out on that field to take over. And it's there for the taking for all those junior boys to really put their hand up. And I think it's going to be money well spent on those guys instead of keeping someone like Dylan Walker around for too much longer. Like you said, he was probably going to be on his way out. It's sad that it happened this way, and wish him all the best at the Eels. But, yeah, I think for both parties, it's probably what's best. It does suck, but, yeah, time to move on.
I think that, yeah, he'd be a really good addition to Parramatta at the moment that are struggling. They probably do need a leadership role, like a leader out there to help them out. Jack Williams has jumped into a leadership role, done a fair job in that. But Dylan Walker, when he comes off the bench, whether he does, I've heard rumors of Parramatta fans saying put him straight into 6 and drop Dylan Brown, which I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Like, I've seen all the Warriors play at 6 and like he could fill in that role, but I wouldn't hold him there for the rest of the season.
No.
But I think that we can fill that role. I think you're 100% right with the James Fisher-Harris move. It just proves to be such a big move for us this year. And also, I think even Aaron Clark. I think the move of Aaron Clark coming to the club with Tahu leaving has been massive, bro. If we didn't have him, would be end up dropping down to a Dimitri Vaimwanga that I believe can handle that role in that 13. But with having Aaron Clark there, we can ease that young bloke into getting some good time, good minutes, show him some opportunities, and then over the future, like, you know, we don't have to kill his momentum if he comes into first grade and doesn't go well. You know, for a young kid coming to first grade, you want to ease him in, and I think that's the best way to do it. So I think there's good signings. Aaron Clark, Fisher-Harris. We still got good leaders around the club. It is going to be a big miss for us, but I do think that it will come to a point where I think other boys will stand up and do a job. Another thing I would say too, before we jump off it, it has looked like that maybe we had an inkling of this was going to happen because his minutes have been fairly low for the last couple of weeks comparatively what they were in years past. Like he played 20 minutes against the Manly Seagulls, which was a weird one. Everyone was like, okay, what's going on here? But then he played a 30 to 40 minute stint last week where everyone was like, oh, okay, we're back again. So I don't know if this was a running thing that maybe the Warriors and him were working towards this and just trying to find a club for him so he can move on. But we knew a minute role was coming up. And when we brought Sam Healy to the club, he's probably going to step up in that hooker role. Off the bench and give those young boys a little bit of minutes through the middle where Lecker's going to get more minutes now, Dimitri's going to get more minutes now, and Jackson Ford, who's been really solid for us in the middle as well, gets a lot more minutes as well. So I think we can carry the load. There is little areas I do feel like we falter without Dylan Walker, and that's like
experience.
Experience. If Chanel or something like that goes down mid-game, we're going to have to mix and match a little bit more than just chucking Dylan Walker on that football field. So but I think we're good enough to do it. And obviously, shout out to Dylan Walker. Guys, I have seen a couple of things in the chat about, like, you know, the situation, the James Maloney coming out and saying a couple of things as well. I don't want to go deep into that. I've heard a lot of rumors about whatever situation is going on there. Not to say that James Maloney is right on that, or that's not him or not. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe it's DC, bro. Maybe that's it. Hey, they used to do that at Manly. They did that at Molo. They did that a bit at Manly, didn't they? They shared around for sure.
They threw around quite a bit, brother. They threw around quite a bit. But obviously, guys, hopefully it goes well. I think all Warriors fans in general, when they see an ex-Warrior at a different club, I think every Warrior fan ends up following him and knows they do so well. So he'll just be another guy that was great for our club at the time. But unfortunately, it was his time to leave. So it is what it is, brother. But anything more on that one?
Nah, brother, just filter the chat a little bit. You got Buzzman there saying, you know, DC to the Warriors, 1.3 million a year for 2 years. I don't know about that, brother.
I don't think he will come, bro. He'll do exactly what like we're dealing with right now. DC will end up leaving us after a couple of years, or if that, right? To me.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're signing him for not a lot. I think stick to your juniors there. The only people that should be chasing DC is if they need to turn their club around in a hurry, or they're looking to push it over the edge to be grand final hopes. If you're in that middle and you're building nicely like the Warriors and the Doggies, I don't think you touch that.
It's a very big play. It's a real big play. As you touched on, it was a good thing to touch on. It can throw a lot of things out of whack, you know, especially when our systems have been building to these moments, obviously, over time, and have just chuck a big spanner in the works of DCE. It could go really well, but it could go really bad. Like, who's to know that his age will catch up to him as soon as we sign him for 2 years? And we've kind of broken down a lot of, like, our work. You know, Toby Sexton, you put a lot of work in and all that sort of stuff. Could go tits up, so who knows? Yeah,
Kieran Foran was a prime example of that at both of our clubs.
Exactly right. You know, I remember the big move there and, you know, trying to get excited for what was going on there and end up, you know, going south very, very quickly. So, yeah, I can see a very similar thing. Could you see about the Titans? Oh, that was another thing I was thinking of. Like,
Nah.
Desi Hasler, DC, Foran back again.
If the Titans take him, their board is piss weak after him backflipping on them a few years ago, and
Yeah.
now to still take him like that, they'll just be piss weak. And you can't have that as a board. You need to have some respect there that, you know, you're a club that's not going to get played with. And the Roosters are that club. You know, they're not even going to look at David Fifita again, no matter how much he's getting bent over at the Titans right now. They will not offer him again. So
yeah, you're 100% right. And guys, you're just jumping over from Wise Up TV. We already kind of discussed the DC move and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, if after the show, jump all the way back and we discuss it early on, like the first topic that we talk about on the show. So if you want to go check it out, guys, go check it out. But me and Brody pretty much going through Redcliffe Dolphins, probably number one, or the Dolphins number one. Probably the Cowboys number two, the Roosters number three, and then everything else just falls under that, right?
You're smoky as the Dogs, but I don't like it. I hope so.
You don't want a Queensland captain at your club?
Nah, I don't think he wouldn't be captain, but the critter would not let that happen.
Oh, good, bro. So talking about the Gold Coast Titans just before, let's move over to crazy news that has come out. Keanu Kinney likely to maybe miss the rest of the season. And NRL physio has come out and said 3 to 4 months, more than likely, with a bulging disc in his neck. But reading up on a couple of things here in the media, he's likely missed the remainder of the season with a serious neck injury, which is so devastating for Gold Coast Titans fans out there, especially, and also Keanu Kinney, who's been in incredible form. Your thoughts overall on this injury here? Does this change your view set on the Titans, or because they've got so many good fullbacks and that, will they be able to cover? Or what are your thoughts there?
It hinders their plans, brother. You know, like preseason's such a big thing, and to be 3 weeks in and have to change with a key role like Keanu Kinney, key player like Keanu Kinney in a key role, to now go and change and undo what he did preseason. And I'm sure they would have drilled a heap of different shapes, like AJ in fullback, Campbell in fullback. You know, you're trying to build your system around those two guys in the halves and Kenny at the back. And then now you're going to unfortunately miss him for a whole year. All his momentum after last year, man, Kenny had such a breakout season. It's so sad to see him injured now. So not good for the Titans, not good for Titans fans. And just hopefully he's all right. I'm sure the Titans will find some cover there, but it won't be to the standard of Keanu Kinney.
Yeah, 100%. It's so devastating for both Keanu Kinney, the Gold Coast Titans, and even like depending on how he recovers, the New Zealand Kiwis at the end of the year with the Pacific Championships, with a year that the Australian Kangaroos are going to be over playing England. He would have been so good against Samoa and Tonga in the Pacific Championship at the end of the year. So hopefully he goes well. Hopefully he recovers well. For the Gold Coast Titans, they do have Jalen de Groot, a really talented junior that I'm hearing will jump into that fullback jersey. He's got a ton of speed. So in Supercoach players, I'm pretty sure he's nearly bottom dollar. He might.
He would be, bro. He wouldn't be. They wouldn't be able to start him on anything higher than that 200K mark.
Yeah, so do keep an eye out for him. He's definitely got a ton of talent, but yeah, thoughts and prayers with Keanu Kinney. Hopefully he recovers really well. And does this sort of change your views on the Gold Coast Titans after, they obviously lost to you guys, but last week getting a good win over the Newcastle Knights?
Yeah, look, I'm seeing a few comments there. JC back to fullback. No, I reckon it'll be AJ back to fullback. I reckon Campbell's got the ability there to be a half. I think we're in agreements with that. And then Kieran Foran, if he's fit, come back into that 6 role. But if they've got this young fella de Groot coming through, then he'll probably just slide straight into fullback and they'll leave the halves pairing unmatched. Is that what you're thinking there is?
Yeah, more than likely, bro.
As for pairings, what do you think Manly's plan is going to be? I'm seeing a few things of Turbo to 5'8", and I'm thinking, really? He's the best fullback in the comp when he's fit.
They're in a real tough predicament with that area too, with like this is like they're 2 young halfbacks that they talk about that's coming through the grade. Like, they've got Joey Walsh that's I think 19, 18, and he's only just come over from the Waratah system. Absolutely killing it. Like he's incredibly talented, but he's so young. You can't just chuck him into a first grade, squad so early with only just limited amount of experience. The other one they have is Large that they have in the SG Ball. And he's even younger, bro. He's like 16. 17. So those other guys, the only other way they could go is Luke Brooks and someone filling that 6 jersey. I don't know, bro. I really don't like it. We've seen Luke Brooks take a direction of the Tigers, in years past. Maybe he's gotten a lot better in that role. Maybe he can step up in that role. You know, Tommy Turbo going to a 6. Like, we all know that Tommy Turbo is probably the best fullback when he's healthy and ready to go. You're going to take him out of that position right now and put him to a 6 jersey, get him to do a lot of defensive work in the line as well. So I don't really like it, bro. I really don't. I don't like the move in general. And I think Manly are probably, they're trying to fit too many chefs in the kitchen, if that makes sense. Obviously, they got Lehigh Blighter that they want. That's their future as well. But you got Tommy right now, right? And you want to build around Tommy. You got to build around Tommy and make sure he's there fit and healthy. And DC, give him another couple of years so you can allow these young kids to get up there. Like Humphreys would have been the perfect fit there at the moment, but they let him go. So they've really put themselves in a sticky situation. But that's what I'm hearing. Luke Brooks and Tom Trbojevic, and I don't really like it, in my opinion.
You know what I'm hearing?
What's that?
Is that if Tyron Wishart wants to leave Melbourne, there is great money out there for a lot of clubs that would fucking throw good money at him, because that dude is a freak. He plays anywhere. He plays out of his skin. He just simplifies footy, and he would be a great fill-in anywhere. So, and now there's a lot of clubs chasing the half. You know, Parramatta, Manly, you know, the Doggies, if they can't get Sexton to continue to perform the way he's performing.
Yep.
It's a lot out there, brother. There's a lot of options. The Broncos will be chasing somebody soon.
I'll put someone up here that we haven't heard his name for a long, long time. But remember this guy that left the Manly Seagulls, and it was always the rumor that if he was ever come back to first grade, he'll come back for the Manly Seagulls. Do you know who I'm talking about here?
No.
Do you remember Cade Cust?
Oh, yeah. But he's a hooker, bro. Oh, 5'8" hooker.
5'8" hooker. You know, he's played a little bit of half over there in the Super League for Hull FC at the moment. He's got the opportunity, he's at Hull FC, and I think he's just re-signing a new contract. I don't think that'll anything change, but maybe there's an opportunity that they bring him back over from the Super League. He's got a ton of talent. He's been killing it over there. Maybe they could bring him back and pair him up with Lukey Brooks, and that will help out in that area.
Maybe.
But that's just like an outside shout. Bevan French's and stuff of the world, like they could probably go to the market. But as you said, like Tyron Wishart, he'd probably be licking his lips for the amount of money that's going to get thrown his way if he comes on the market.
Dan Atkinson, man, if he wants to move, like he's still sitting there at the Sharks on the bench.
Well, he's going to the Dragons from remember he signed with the Dragons.
So that's confirmed.
That's confirmed, yeah. So he's there next year. So unfortunately, we miss out on him. The Manly Seagulls.
That means Flanagan or Ilias might come available.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. There's Tamade Martin with us, but I don't think from all the room, I still don't see him moving away from New Zealand. I think he loves it over there, hunting and doing what he's doing. So I don't know, bro. I really don't know what they're going to do, and I don't know what their plan is. And that's what makes this whole thing even more baffling to me is I don't think they have a set plan. I think they've just thrown something at the wall saying Tommy Turbo can play 6, so let's just build around that.
Look, don't get me wrong. It could probably work because as long as that dude's got the ball in his hand, something could happen. So, but I like the Wishart one, bro. And I think he loves it too much at Melbourne and the system he gets to play there. But when you're chasing money and when you're chasing the starting role and consistency, he could be the guy.
Could be the guy. Definitely keep an eye on him. You got Latu Fainu that went to the Tigers. That was in the Seagulls. Whether he wants to go back, but I'm pretty sure they burnt bridges there. So I'm not too sure about that. But
you got Bud Sullivan chilling on the bench at the Rabbits. There's still a few options there.
Well, I just saw a comment there before. Lewis Dodds, sorry, coming all the way to England. Maybe that's an opportunity for him.
Maybe.
Yeah, keep an eye out, guys. This has obviously got a lot more to play out, but as we touched on before, shout out to Counter Kinney. Hopefully he recovers well. And the last little bit of news I want to touch on too, unfortunately, our boy Campbell Graham looking up to be out up to 6 weeks with another injury as well, which is so devastating. But hopefully... Can't catch a break, bro. It's crazy that, obviously the Rabbitohs, everyone was talking about when Latrell comes back, how they're going to move people around, Campbell Graham go to a wing or stay in the center, whatever's going on there. But unfortunately with another injury to the Rabbitohs, they just find themselves back in a situation again. Yeah,
it's very unfortunate for Campbell Graham. He's been building his game nicely before that injury happened that put him out all of last year. And, he come back and he looked like he didn't miss a beat in the first 3 rounds this year. And you thought, yes, sweet, he's back. He's going to be in Origin Australian selections again. And now to come down with another injury, it's just not good. He's still so young. still so much talent and just injuries. Again, it's like Yana Kinney, man. It just sucks. It sucks to see these guys get injured on their way up, and you just hope that they can bounce back and still come back fit and ready to play.
100%, bro. And I'm right there. I pretty much echo all your sentiments there, bro. He's been such a good, consistent piece to them. To start the season, he looked like he was ready to go. Defensively, he was locking people down on those edges. To see him go down with another injury is just so devastating. You know, he obviously was in the frame for State of Origin, you know, obviously a couple of years ago or last year from it was last year.
Nah, not last year, the year before. Yeah, he missed all of last season, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is so unfortunate. Like, he was right there. Everyone was really excited. And from that point on, it's just been bang, bang, bang. So really, really disappointing there. But talking about players leaving clubs and moving on, especially the DCE, I want to touch on a couple of players, bro, that we have in mind that have left our club. And we've been obviously very sad to see them leave because we didn't want to see them leave in general. So I'll shoot over to you first, bro. Who's any players of your mind that when the doggies came out and said this player is leaving you, you're just like, why? Please keep him. Like, who are these players you have in mind?
There was a few for me. It took me a while to think of some, but there was a few for me. And the biggest one was probably Sonny Bill Williams. That one really did suck. You know, he was just scraping the peak of his career. And Jonathan Thurston was another one. You know, like, as much as I don't like JT, you know, he was great for the game and he was good for the game and everything that he achieved. You know, it would have been great to see him do that at the doggies and you know, we probably would have won a couple more premierships through those early 2000s. Benny Barber was another one, man, that killer season. And then, you know, probably a good thing after letting him go anyway, after what happened once he left us. So I guess it was a good thing to part ways with him.
But in the moment,
Morris boys,
that was a big one for you. I know how much you felt about Benny Barber in that moment.
Yeah, that one sucked. He was my favorite player there for a while. So yeah, the Morris twins, yes, Tan. That's my next one. You know, they were killing it for us, and then, you know, it was sad to see them go, especially because they were with us during all the hard times there at the doggies. They played those couple of grand finals, but towards the back end of their time with us, they were for the hard times. And the last one for me is Trent Hodkinson. You know, he left just after that grand final loss as well. And then, you know, we went to a bit of mud there and merry-go-round in the halves and couldn't find somebody to stick. And now we're finally going right again. But yeah, probably those guys for me. Trent
Hodkinson, you know, going to Newcastle probably didn't end up taking his career to a new level anyway.
No.
Yeah, when the Newcastle Knights came and just threw a ton of money on him, just be like, you'll be our halfback now. You took Dogs to the grand final. Unfortunately, it didn't go the best for them. So shout out Dylan Brown in that situation as well. Eh?
Yeah, well, same thing I think is going to happen, unfortunately, to the poor Knights. And shout out to big Greg Eastwood. You're 100% right, Jazzy. The intercept king.
He was a beast back in the day, man. Shout out to that era of the Dogs, man. You had David Staggs, Greg Eastwood, all that, like, bruh.
Killers, bro. Greg Eastwood taking those intercepts and running 40 meters. Like, that was killer.
What a beast, man. On my side from the New Zealand Warriors, bro, I think the big one to touch on is Sean Johnson when he first left us to go to the Sharkies. Sad day, especially for me, you know, being such a big piece of why I follow the Warriors and why I adore the Warriors. Sean Johnson being my favorite player. When he was leaving, I was like, fuck, man, like, such a key time too. I think that 2018 season, we end up, you know, performing really, really well, made to the finals, got knocked out by the Penrith Panthers. We're like, oh, here we go, we can go again. Then come the off season, all that broke down, and it was so sad. Another player in mind, someone that's gone to like the Melbourne Storm, and like we saw all the potential that he had at the Warriors, and we wish we kept him, but I don't think he would have hit his potential at the Warriors. I still don't, unless Webby could have done a lot with him, maybe. But he's gone to Melbourne and become such a better player. But that's Eli Katoa. He was a freak of nature. You know how much I felt about him when I first saw him. I was like, bro, you got to watch this guy. Like, he's a freak. Unfortunately, just up and down performances, and the Warriors in that period of time just couldn't develop him really.
I don't think we would have. Well, you guys would have been able to mold a back rower and get him to play the way that he wanted to play. Whereas Melbourne's done that for him. And I really do think fitness is a big thing to do with that. And I think the Warriors, you know, have come a long way in their pre-seasons, but you know, the olden days, or not the olden days, even just 5-10 years ago, you know that the Warriors were one of those teams that are a bit lazy in their pre-seasons, because you could tell in the way that they played their footy. So, but now that's changed a lot. So
100%. It's been good to see. A big one from back in the era, preview of my era, really. But Ali Leotoa, not Ali Leotoa, sorry, Ali Leoti'i, the uncle of Ali Leotoa, but Ali Leoti'i, the Michael Jordan of rugby league back in the day, as we used to call him. He was Fletty Mateo, but with just a ton better skill and more consistent than Fletty Mateo back in the day. But when he left the Warriors, all that big breakdown with Daniel Anderson threw the NRL by storm, and people just couldn't believe that he left the NRL so early. Went to Super League and absolutely murdered it in the Super League. So shout out to Ali Leoti'i. Guys, if you don't know, go check him out on YouTube. Check out all his highlights. It's actually mental. That guy used to carry the football legit like it was a little tennis ball. He's so crazy, man. Another couple here, Adam Fanor-Blake. Obviously, we all know recently, just losing a player like Adam Fanor-Blake's been a tough one. Reece Walsh is another one. Well, as soon as we lost Reece, it was kind of like, in that little period of COVID, he was like our little shining light, like, the little explosion full of energy. I knew he was going to be something special at the Broncos when he went back, and he's definitely shined there. And Ivan Cleary as a coach, not as a player. I put a coach in there as well, but that moment we lost Ivan Cleary, it definitely felt like the world was crumbling all over again for me. And the way the Warriors fumbled that, it was such a sad day. Made the grand final in 2011, and then to not see him again at our club, it was so sad to see.
Definitely, he's a big one, especially because you know that you probably lost Nathan the same time he lost Ivan. So you're forgetting one, and nobody in the chat has said it either.
Ooh, what do you got?
It's recent, bro. Have a think.
It's recent. Don't say Isaiah Papali'i.
Nah.
Oh, recent.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for you to think of because, that'll give it away. Last 4 years,
Last 4 years.
4 or 5 years.
Oh, trying to think. Josh Curran.
Nah. Curran's good, but not Curran. This might trick everyone. This is probably going to trick everyone.
We had Ken Momalo, Dave Fusatua. You've got me here, bro. You got me stumped.
You guys aren't going to get it, are you? Nobody in the chat? Nah.
Nah.
Not Tohu.
Oh,
come on.
You got me thinking, bro.
He's an award winner.
He's an award winner. Oh, Roger, when Roger first
left.
Roger,
there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. No, yeah, when Roger first left, that was a devastating day when he went to rugby union, especially in one of our hardest periods of COVID and stuff. I was just like, why, Rog? Why?
Yep. After winning the Daily M to leave you guys, and nobody's thought of him because obviously he's back with you guys, but he did leave and he was a big part there. But yeah, everybody else in the chat, Tohu, Jazzy, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, Fusatua is a big one. When he was with us, he was really talented. I would love to still have Fusatua. I thought he was really, really talented for us. Still Jazzy here with Ash Taylor, Dane Nielsen. Ash Taylor. He threw up Brent Tate before as well, and I knew you would have loved to see that one.
Nah, who's he?
Who is that guy? But yeah, no, sad day, bro. Roger's a really good one. I didn't even think of that off the top of my head. That was a good one.
Yeah, he's just... true supporters, eh?
True supporter. Here we go. Now, guys, make sure you chuck in the chat your players that you sorely miss. The club that let them go and they either got bigger and better later on, or just it was a sad day to see them leave your club. Make sure you comment down below. Let us know your thoughts overall on that situation. For me, the big one was Shawnee. I just remember Shawnee leaving.
James Maloney
was a big one. Yeah, when he came to the club, the amount of success they came around him, Jassy with Bodine Thompson. Bodine Thompson's a big one for me. He was my betting man. I used to put multis on with Bodine Thompson. He used to hit all the time, bro. Jonathan Wright. Yeah, all these
Jesse Arthurs.
Jesse Arthurs. Yeah, we did speak about Jesse Arthurs a little bit. It would be good to still have that bloke as well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Kate Evans.
No.
Kempy with Jose. Dan and Kemp. Oh, bro. Doggies fans out there too. Let us know if there's any more for Doggies fans out there. But I think you hit the nail on the head with your ones. I think the Morris twins and that. Lau Mape is a good one there. Eskio. Nigel Vungana there with Tyrone Blake. Nigel Vungana. I'm guessing.
Vungana.
Yeah, we had him earlier on. You guys had him. Was he at the Sharks too at that little period?
Yeah, Sharks as well. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a good one there, Tyrone, my
Oh,
bro. Guys, make sure you comment down
Christine
below.
Inu, bro. Christine Inu for you guys to come to
Christine
us.
Inu. Yeah, I remember that. Yep. He was going unreal that grand final year that we had. He was just rocks and diamonds as well at times.
Oh, he was,
you know.
wasn't he, bro?
He's such a talent, but crazy. Lau Mape is obviously getting a lot of love in the chat too. He was obviously an All Black now, and we had him in our system. So shout out to him. Shout out to Connie Harrell too, losing Connie Harrell.
Oh yeah, Conrad Harrell, the mini tornado.
How many players have we goddamn lost over the years? We need to get this shit sorted, eh?
It's all over the place, bro. It's all over the place.
Oh, I love it. It's always good going back memory lane, guys. But before we jump over to round number actually, do you want to do team of the week before or after round number 3? We'll talk about it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, we'll do team of the week start it, and then we'll touch base on a couple of performances and move on.
I feel like that's the best way to go. Yeah, let's do it. Team of the week in round number 3. Guys, make sure you chuck your teams of the week in the comment section after the show or in the chat right now. Obviously, it is live currently right now, brother. Fullback for position for the week. Who have you got?
Yeah,
there?
not a lot of breakouts this week, but one man in mind. It's your boy, CN
Yes. See, I'm right there with you, bro. Over 300 meters run. That guy was an absolute warrior out there. Let him in the middle.
Yeah, look, 300 plus meters, tackle breaks, effort upon effort. It's got to be the man.
It's got to be the man. Moving over to our wingers of the week, brother. Who have we got?
I went with Ronaldo Molitalo, and I went with Paul Alamonte.
Ooh, I like it. I went a bit different here. I went Ronaldo Molitalo. I'm right there with you. I pushed Zach Lomax from a centre to a wing because he pretty much was playing a lot of that wing position there too. So.
Yeah, I don't know where he's playing. I don't think he knows where he's playing. He's just chasing the ball like a stray dog just after that ball.
Bro, he was crazy. He was like pretty much just trying to carry the Eels in that contest there, like over 300 meters. He was unreal in that contest. But I love the Paul Alamonte shout. He caused the Melbourne Storm a lot of issues over the weekend.
He did, especially with the reshuffle there, pushing him to a wing, playing outside Tongo. So yeah, it was a last minute change for the Panthers, and it seemed to work pretty well.
And a quick little shout out to Ronaldo Molitalo. What a game over the weekend. This is like the diamonds that he can come up with, right? Like when he's on, bro, he can be really hard to handle. And the amount of long field efforts they had over the weekend just from him, just incredible, right? Cal Iro was obviously the beneficiary of that. And while talking about centers, who is your centers of the week?
Well, just quickly on Ronaldo as well. I'm worried for this weekend if the Cronulla back three are doing that, especially, with Sexton just finding the chest instead of ground every kick. So a little bit worried on that.
I would say, though, shout out to Toby Sexton kicking over 1,000 meters in that contest. Like, brother, what? I didn't notice that.
Well, he was just our dominant kicker, and we just got into that arm wrestle of set to set there, and he would have kicked for a lot more if he found the ground, but he just kept finding the chest. So, yeah, we're just missing Birdo with that regard, and the Sharks will cut us up if we're not tight in defense there. So
I feel you there, bro. I feel you there. But moving over to centers of the week.
Your boy again, Ali, and we're going to go with Ruben Garrick.
Oh, bang on, bro. Exactly what I've got there too. Shout out to Cal Iro as well. I'm sure a lot of people had Iro there. Obviously scoring a couple of tries in that. But Ruben Garrick, bro, the 4-piece in that game and killed my Supercoach team. So well done, Ruben.
Yeah, great week to trade him out, brother?
I wasn't the only one, unfortunately. It was a well-known Supercoach out there, the Supercoach Spy, that did exactly the same thing, and he's living with it as well. He's a Warriors fan now as well, so shout out to him. But Ali Lautar, bro, I've shown him that many times. I'm so excited over his future. I think he's going to be even better, for the run. But he was incredible over the weekend, and the emojis, bro, the emotes, boom, strapped in, baby.
Bring that energy, brother. Why not? Celebrate the big hits. All the good teams are doing that now. They're getting around the guys for pulling off big moves like this in defense, with the ball, without the ball. It just builds the hype for the team.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. Moving to 6 and 7. Who has our halves of the week? Who we got number 6?
I've got Braden Trindle at 6.
I agree. I'm right there with you. Who's our 7?
I've got Adam Reynolds, but a big shout out to Jaden Campbell.
I'm right there with you. I've got Adam Reynolds, but I love the Jaden Campbell shout as well. But shout out to Braden Trindle as well. 2 40-20s in that game. He was on fire. Yeah,
especially, the first game at half there against the Doggies was always going to be a hard test, especially when you got Kikau running at you. charger down your kicks. Really good bounce back game and showed that he could be a 7 for the future.
100%. And shout out to Willie Mason, giving him massive praise, calling him Shifty. He was like, he reminds me of Shifty Sherwin back in the day.
Oh yeah, Brent Sean.
Yeah, so shout out, that's a big praise coming from the big man. But also Adam Reynolds over the weekend, he was, him with Payne Haas, so I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit later on, but incredible.
Yeah, he's just aging like fine wine. And we know Adam Reynolds has always been this way. It's just the injuries, that really concern him. But he's got that forward pack that he should be able to play off the back of, let's be real. But yeah, he's doing a good job at icing the moments.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Talk about forward pack in the motor room. Who we got up front?
Yeah, it's Payne Haas, no brainer. I'll tell you right now, he's my player of the week as well. It's hands down, like that's what he did on the weekend is just absolutely dominant. And it's not just the try, like his performance was already so dominant as it was. He unfortunately had that first try disallowed where he just made a mess of the front line, and then poor Drinkwater actually got in front of him. And I think that's what made him get out of the way for the second time. But yeah, just dominant, bro.
He was unreal, bro. I couldn't believe that double movement effort. I was like, fuck, that was the opportunity for our super coach. Obviously we're talking about it at the gym. It's like, if he scores his try, he's going to unreal, not knowing that later on in the game, he'll have his opportunity, and he took it, bro. Like the speed that he carries for such a big body, it's just mental, man. It's
not like he breezed past easy guys either. He breezed past Ruben Cotter and what's the other dude's name?
McLean. Yep.
Yeah.
Straight through.
Just without a hand on him. Like, crazy. As for my other front rower, Nafu Watt.
Oh, I like that shout. I went with Fanor Bole from the Tigers. He got through like 200 meters in that game. He was unreal. But Nafahu White, he's stepped up in that jersey for the Roosters lately, and he's been a real solid member for him.
Yeah, he played really well on the weekend. I liked his game. Obviously got rewarded with the try as well. But yeah, I do like the Pole shout. He gets kind of looked over there because May's doing the bigger minutes, but to get through the work that Pole got through in not so many minutes is just as impressive.
Yeah, he's unreal as well. Moving to our number 9 of the week, talking to the Tigers. Who have you got?
Api Coruscant.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be the man. I've got exactly the same one, Api Coruscant. He was the man that got him over the edge there, over the Dolphins. I was so surprised that he didn't win the majority of the daily end points, but that is by the by.
Yeah, well, I've seen, I think it was Willie Mason and Horo breaking down Api's game and how he really can identify a weak defender or a fatigued defender. And Tom Gilbert was unfortunately the guy on tape. And that's no knock to him, but that's the risk you take playing guys for bigger minutes. They're going to feel a bit tired towards the back end of the set, at least.
Yep.
And he got exposed. And Api Coruscant did a really good job of exposing him.
Api Coruscant, the second best hooker in the competition?
When he's fit and healthy, yeah, 100%. You add him to a team that's not the Tigers, you add him to a top 8 team, and you see how much better than he is than a lot of these other hookers. But yeah, definitely.
He's unreal, bro. He's unreal. Shout out to the Tigers. They got a good one there, and they're looking really connected this year. Moving over to edge back rolls, bro. Who have you got on the edges?
I went with Hamole Olakwatu, which is a no-brainer, and I went with Hudson Young.
Oh, I like that for an outside shot. I actually think he's been really good for the Raiders to start the year. He's been really content. He's been a leader out there. So shout out to Hudson Young, someone that I've never really jumped on the hype with.
Same.
But now I'm starting to really enjoy a little bit of his game. So shout out to him.
I think he's just maturing, and you're not seeing so much of the dirty shit come out. And then you can actually sit back and watch his game without being like, look at this dickhead, or like he's maturing a little bit in that role. And, Elliot Whitehead leaving is probably the best thing for him to really step up. The Vegas thing doesn't help him, but, his game's still good. And I don't think he'll be Origin, but for some reason he keeps finding his way in there.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I went Bo Fermor. He was my outside shout other than Olakwatu, but that try that he scored, like, I still was like, how the fuck did he do that? Like,
I don't think I've seen that try, but I did see that he had a really good bounce back game.
Yeah. He was held up. KP. I'm trying to think who else was in that tackle. I think it was Adam Elliott, all that. Holding him up, legit. It's bang. It's like pretty much holding him up, and he just reaches his arm out, just goes, bink. And it's like, how the fuck did you do that, bro? Like, yeah. But you know how much I love Bo Fermor when he's playing on form, coming off of a poor last week, I thought, defensively, especially against the Dogs. I think he bounced back fairly well. And talking about the Titans, we might have the same 13 of the week. Who have you got at 13?
No, we don't. If you're talking to
Oh,
the Titans, brother.
who you got,
Go on,
bro?
Ash. Throw it out. Who you got?
I got Tino Fa'asul Mala'awi, bro. I thought he was incredible over the weekend against the Newcastle Knights. But if you got another member in mind, definitely shoot
Yeah,
away.
I went with the ugliest man in league of Cam McInnes.
Shout out to the ugliest man in league, bro. Oh, unreal performance, obviously against the Rabbits. Fuck, I tried to get the Rabbits out of my mouth there.
Stutter in there, brother.
But like in a performance where there's just too classy, there's always just that hard worker in the middle that probably goes unrecognized.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of locks that didn't probably have their best weeks this week, and I think he was just that little bit of a shining light. Obviously, Tino was a good shout as well. But the only reason I didn't go with him is because obviously he had to back up his last week's performance against the Doggies, and he just didn't quite get that. So I went with somebody different in Cam McInnes.
How close was Isaiah Yo to you?
Nah, his game on the weekend wasn't Isaiah Yo standard. Put it that way. Like, it was good, don't get me wrong, and he's still the best lock in the game, but it's just not the standard we come to expect from him. And that's probably a fault of spectators watching him to do something special to give him that team of the week now. Whereas like his game, and if you crunch the numbers, he's probably still lapping the rest of the locks. But yeah, for me, I'm going to mix it up. Yeah, Cam McInnes got it this week.
Yeah, because I was looking at him a little bit of the fact of like Nathan Cleary went down. I thought Jack Cole was incredible to step up in that opportunity, but I also thought that he took a lot of ownership in the middle as well. So I was like, I could give a little bit of opportunity there, but you're 100% right. Like, I think Tino was a good one, Cam McInnes, but there wasn't any like massive standouts either. I thought it was a really, just a complacent week from the lock forwards out there, but still some good performances to touch on in general.
100%.
And obviously, player of the week, bro. Payne Haas, we spoke about him just before. Last question before we jump over to the games of the week. Like, he is probably the most talented prop forward that we've seen in rugby league.
100%. 100%. And it's not just a bandwagon thing. You know, we've seen this for years out of Payne, but how he's just evolving his game every year as well. It's just, his league's ahead of everybody else. I just want to shout out Tans in the chat. She's already got like all the guys that I'm saying in the team of the week. It's crazy. Good
She's
footy
nailing
mind.
it, bro. She's nailing it. She's unreal footy mind, old Tans. She I'm not sure, Tans, are you still doing YouTube with there was a Warriors fan YouTube channel that she was doing content for. She was unreal, bro. Great to listen to. So
I can see the footy mind there. It's great. Might get her on the show or something. And I like Hosier, egg of the week. We're gonna come up with an egg of the week every week now. I think Gilbert's got it this week. I think the first 2 weeks it has to go to Tuapolotu from the Dragons doing the money and losing. But yeah, Gilbert on this week is for sure. Like, respect his hustle to get the hype. And yelling at his boys when he saved a try, but then to be that gassed and to let those last couple of tries in and those efforts in, and you don't blame him, but yeah, egg of the week for sure.
100%. I want to go back to, there was a question that I just missed out on from Peace, Love, and Happiness. Just got to get, there it is. Do any of you know who is the heaviest hitter in the NRL right now? Yeah, that's the first name that came to my head.
Yeah, it's the first one that comes to my mind. Other than that, like, technique-wise, Jake Trbojevic is still up there. Like, he will snap you. Victor Radley, like, heavy.
Victor Radley's still there. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think anyone else on the top of my head. We've lost
Mo Fodawaker on the weekend.
Yeah, that was a mean hit over the weekend against the Newcastle Knights. I'm trying to think who else will be out there at the moment that's really putting some really good shots on. Yeah, leave that with us. We'll definitely look at it over the weekend. Try to. Ola Kawatu is probably the big one, right?
Yeah.
The hit he put on that producer from Fox.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's going to be a given, brother. I mean, the dude doesn't play league, but yeah, probably, those guys. Radley, Trbojevic, Ola Kawatu. All right. Well, let's find a tackle of the week. From now on for next week. Segment will go tackle of the week, try of the week, egg of the week, and player of the week.
I love that, bro. All right, we're holding that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in as well. Peace, love, and happiness, and giving our questions out there. Tino hits. Yeah, Tino's got a solid hit as well in him.
He does, for
that
sure.
Hit he had, was it last year, the year before, where him and John Bateman went at it? and then he just smoked John Bateman off.
Oh,
of,
that was 2 years ago. Yeah,
that
yeah.
was 2 years ago. That was a gnarly one there. It just showed John Bateman can be a bit chirpy, and he put him in his place in that moment. It was great to see.
100%, bro.
All right, moving over to the weekend. That was, my brother. A lot of really nice performances here. We're just going to gloss over the weekend, guys. We don't really want to touch on any Soul game in general. But shout out to shout out to the Panthers and Melbourne Storm on a Thursday night game. I thought that was a really solid little outing. Penrith Panthers go down with Nathan Cleary out. Melbourne Storm coming out of that contest with a lot of injuries as well. Melbourne get it done 30-24, but of this game, just the Penrith Panthers, they're competing every minute of the game. Crazy.
Yeah, they never quit on themselves, bro, and that just shows how much they believe in themselves. As soon as somebody goes down, it's just next man up.
Unreal. Shout out to my boys across the ditch, obviously getting a nice win over the Roosters. Defensively, that was just a grind fest. Our attack still is clunky in moments. We're good to see it come home really strong with Ali Dotara crossing over to win the game, to put a bow on it. So good to see our boys get up. But shout out to the Roosters too. I do think it's a little bit underestimated. I thought they turned up for that game over the weekend. I thought they played a lot of good footy. I thought like the middle battle was incredible. I thought Victor Radley was in everything. But shout out to those guys.
Yeah, it's never easy, obviously, going to NZ and to try and get the win. And the Roosters definitely, they played for it. They really did. But I think your crowd got you guys home. And a couple of solo efforts there, especially at the end from Roger, doing his hamstring and still making that tackle. So, good win from your boys for sure. And let's hope they can do it again this week.
And probably team of the week for me, I'll probably say, other than the Manly Seagulls performance, we'll touch on very shortly, but the Cronulla Sharks, getting over the top of the Rabbitohs in that performance, just well too classy. I think that Nico Hines and Braden Trindle connected so well. As I said, Ronaldo Mulitalo had an all-time game. Will Kennedy's just been a solid member to start the season that a lot of people were obviously questioning, which I thought was crazy. But unreal performance from those guys.
Yeah, Will Kennedy doesn't get the raps he deserves. I think he's classy. He complements that Sharks team a lot. He doesn't need to be a spectacular try-assist fullback. He just needs to do his job, which he does. I think he gets through the workload well enough, and his support play is crazy. He's the first one there on a line break to capitalize with the try. I've got a question 100%. On Payne Haas for Daly M. I would love to say yes, but I think Kalen Ponga is going to be up there in any night's win.
Yeah, Kalen Ponga will definitely be there. Payne started the season really, really strong. He would have to have that Jason Tamalolo type season. That was it 2013. I think Jason Tamalolo won that one.
Yes, I think Origin might hinder him. But if he stays fit, KPE there as well. Yep. I think Haas is a good shout. I wish you could still bet on it because there would be some good value on him.
Yeah, any other smokies? We had obviously Cam Munster at the start of the season. We were thinking we had Nathan Cleary, but he's not gone. But it's hard with the 6-point system. It's gone. It's hard to miss 2 games. It's very hard to miss 2 games and not score any points. I think your shout at KP has been a good one, but at the moment, I think Payne Haas has probably been the most impressive player in the competition.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So if he keeps this up, 100% he can win a Daly M medal, but it does take a lot. It's a lot harder for middle forwards to get it over someone like a KP or obviously an attacking piece, right?
Exactly right.
And talking about attacking pieces as well, the Gold Coast Titans 26-6. Not just an attacking piece in this game though. Defensively, they held in really strong against a Newcastle Knights team that just went back to being what the Newcastle Knights were, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes they have great performances, sometimes they just roll up and they give you a duck egg.
Yeah, I think too much distractions for them. Those players in and out of their team all week. There wouldn't have been a solid training session of who's running where and knowing who you've got available. And we did speak about that. We did speak about it, me and you, when we're tossing up who to put captaincy on for Supercoach. And we went with Ponga, even though we predicted a bit of a downfall for the Knights, and we thought that Ponga would still prevail, but obviously he didn't. And the Knights played pretty average on the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. It's way too many errors in that game. Quickly I want to touch on the West Tigers getting a win over the Dolphins. I feel like the Dolphins, in a way, started off really well. If they just stuck at their game plan of what they had out there, get them through the middle, cut back in with tired forwards that don't defend too well in the middle, in my opinion. But they went away from that, and the West Tigers, they look connected. I got to give full credit to them. They look really connected. They look like they're buying in. You know, 30-18 at home at Redcliffe Stadium, or, you know, Redcliffe's home stadium, is a great win there for them.
Yeah, well, funny enough, though, I was talking to Michael on the way home, and sure enough, the Tigers did go 2-1 in their first 3 games last year as well. So time will tell. But with the Tigers, look, if any team put 12 points on them as quick as the Dolphins did on the weekend, they would roll over normally. So for them to fight back and have that comeback victory, you're right. It looks like they are buying in. And that team is starting to gel. And I think you're going to have that happen when you got Taruva, you got Appy, you got Luai, and then you got Galvin being the Energizer Bunny ears with Dream Buller.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough to build a solid enough team around it. And I think the guys are learning. I think they're buying in for sure.
I really do think so. I think, yeah, that's the best thing that Jerome Luai has brought over from the Panthers and Taruva, is the connectiveness. Like, you know, they want to be a brotherhood, and that's what makes them play the best football on the football field. And that's what I think is making them a little bit more harder of a defensive side there with their scramble, because they all are starting to turn up for each other, even though I still don't think their defense is as good as what, you know, the start of the season has shown for them being the best defensive side after 3 rounds. It's only been 3 rounds, and they haven't had a big test yet. But still, it's a lot better than what we've seen, I guess, in past. But you're 100% right. It's still early on the season. There's a lot to go through. They did have good wins to start the season last year. Remember, they knocked off the Sharkies, was it?
Yes.
By decent scoreline. So we'll have to wait and see if they really are up to it. And last game of the round 2, the Seagulls smacking the Raiders 40-12. Ruben Garrick with the 4-piece and completely ruining my Supercoach side. So shout out to Ruben.
Well, look, we did predict this as well a little bit. I don't know how we went well with the tipping. I don't know if you still have our tips from last week that we predicted.
No.
But we did say that Manly. Well, we did say if Turbo plays, Manly would win. But you know, Turbo didn't play, and we still seen what happens. But we did predict this. It's only a matter of time with Canberra before they have that little bit of a dip.
Exactly.
And sure enough, it came this week.
Manly at 4 Pines, bro. It's always been just one of the toughest tests in rugby league. Like, Manly away from 4 Pines, you can give them a crack. Manly at 4 Pines is just a different prospect. It really is.
I'm seeing all the memes now about that as well.
It's crazy, bro. It's honestly the craziest thing. They just turn up. And I think it's the crowd thing as well. It's very similar to you guys in Belmore. Like, when you guys play at Belmore, the energy that the crowd gives you is
100%.
Like, takes it to a whole different level. Do we want to touch on your performance as well? Obviously, not the greatest performance in the world, 16-8 over Parramatta, but I would say Parramatta looked like they were up and lively for that game. But it was a big arm wrestle, I believe.
Yeah, look, the ugly ones, bro, you still got to do them. It's as simple as that. You got to get it done. It's better than losing an ugly match. You know what I mean? It's good to get the win regardless. And the guys will learn. You know, it's a new shape. It's a new team with the 2 key people missing, and Kikau and Burton. That's a lot of our attack right there. So
100%.
The boys will learn. I think Hayward was really good. He had some really nice moments. He backed his running game. I really just think it was the way we ended our sets that we didn't get into good ball zone enough. You know, we were getting held into our 30. We didn't have kick out bending that line as much as we normally do and creating a bit of momentum. And then Toby Sexton's boot, you know, he was finding the chest of Iongi and Adokar on their 30. So they were starting their sets on their 40. And it's just lucky enough that Parramatta weren't good enough to crack us, and that our defense still held up. So, but just lacking a little bit of polish there in attack. And that's going to be expected when our attacks is around Burton and Kikau. So I expect this week will be a little bit better, but again, I feel like we're going to be relying heavily on our defense, and it'll be a tough one this week.
Yeah, we'll definitely jump to that very, very shortly. But lastly, before we jump off the week, that was that Josh Curran penalty. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, how are you going to penalise for against the game, like the spirit of the game? Like,
I know. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on this one in a way. Like, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, makes sense. I don't think you could, like, but then again, like, the more I think about it, it's like, I'm sure, like, I've listened to a lot of people's views, so I'm sure that, you know, Cam Smith used to do it back in the day in the ruck. Like, there's a lot of players that would have done that back in the day. Like, even when we were playing junior footy, like, people used to, as soon as you make a breakaway, like, there's people calling on you inside that you don't even know before. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you got that, brother. You got the last tackle shout on tackle 3. It's last, kick it, it's last. Like, that shit happens all the time. And I think he's been hard done by just by standing next to the referee. I understand, like, Dury's doing what he thinks right by staying out of the tackle, but you should know in your head that you're onside as well. Like,
Yeah.
He must have been like trying to cheat the referee by if you don't know you're onside, that's on you. Like you should either know that you're onside or I don't know.
I
I understand, but I don't understand because how are you going to penalize that week in, week out?
I'm right there with you, bro. I thought it was a real wild one. And we'll quickly get through the tips of the week because my headphones are about to die. They're about to die on me, so I don't want to lose you.
All right.
Let's run through our games of the week and overall. Hold up, bro. Let me get them up. Sorry, bro. Thursday night, we got the Rabbitohs versus the Penrith Panthers coming into this game. Alex Johnson is back in the lineup. Obviously, Campbell Graham falls out of the lineup, which is really unfortunate. Going over to the Penrith Panthers, no Nathan Cleary. Dane Laurie comes back in to play in fullback. Pushes Tom Jenkins into a center here. The Penrith Panthers, will they be a little bit too strong for the Rabbitohs, or do you think this is a little bit closer matchup? No Nathan Cleary now.
It's closer than the odds are suggesting, but I think the Panthers class will still get the job done.
I'm with you there, bro. I'm going to go Panthers 1-12. It just has an opportunity to blow out late, but I think the Rabbitohs have been very good at holding in contests this year anyway. Moving over to the next game of the weekend, we got the Roosters versus the Gold Coast Titans coming into this one. We all do know, like we touched on before, Keanu Keeney is out of the lineup. Jalen de Groot comes into the lineup for him. Still no AKP, obviously, with the hamstring injury. With the Roosters, top to bottom, pretty much very similar, other than Connor Watson out with that head knock, but Lindsay Collins finds his way back in the side here, and Nat Butcher finds himself on the bench as well. Billy Smith sitting in that reserves maybe could be a late little change. We'll have to wait and see. Apparently, Dominic Young has a little bit of a knock after the weekend, so keep an eye out on that. Who have you got in this contest here, bro? Do you have the Gold Coast Titans go back-to-back or the Roosters bouncing back of a loss in New Zealand?
Yeah, I have the Roosters bouncing back in a close one. I'm going to go Roosters 1-12.
Yep, I'm going to go Roosters 1-12 with you. I thought that defense over the weekend was really, really strong in our contest, and I think it's going to be a good fight there. If the Gold Coast Titans defend like they did over the weekend, I think it's going to be an arm wrestle. But if they don't, I think the Roosters can come over the top of them.
100%.
Moving over to the Battle of Brisbane, we got the Dolphins versus the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium. Both teams fairly unchanged by the looks of it. Tony Stagg comes into the center position for the Broncos there. Broncos only away game here, brother, away from Suncorp, but still at Suncorp. Who have you got in this contest?
I think this one's going to be played through the middle. Brizzy's supposed to get a lot of rain over the weekend and the week. So it's going to be a bit of tough middle footy. And I think, Broncos with their pack at the moment and Payne Haas firing, I can't go away from the Broncos, but I will go 1-12 battle.
Yeah, I'm going to go Broncos. I think that they can click late in this game and push it to a 13-plus victory again, but I think that start of that game is going to be a real tough one. I think the Dolphins are going to be itching to try and get back and get a win to start the year, obviously.
Get a win.
Moving over to the Dragons versus the Melbourne Storm at Netstrata Jubilee. In the Melbourne Storm, no Jerome Hughes with a broken hand, and no Nelson Asofa-Solomona due to the head knock that he had with Nick Meaney, and Nick Meaney's out for a decent amount of time.
How does that dude have a head knock with that being that fucking tall?
Bro, and I feel for Nick Meaney having to deal with getting headbutted by that man.
Yeah, because doesn't he have like the broken face?
He does. Yeah, he's out for like 8 weeks or something. It's craziness. So shout out to Nick Meaney. Yeah. But Ryan Papenhuyzen should get the goal kicking duty, but there is a little bit of rumor going around that he's
ankle.
Yeah. So super coaches, do be wary because I was looking at bringing him in this weekend too.
Yeah.
So.
If he's out, it's going to be a straight switch to that man wearing the opposite number 1.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a good little player too comes this weekend. But how do you feel this is going to go, bro? Melbourne Storm without Jerome Hughes, is it going to be enough? It's going to be Melbourne by a bit.
Yeah, look at that man taking his spot. Like, stop it.
I know. Good old Tyron Wishart. I'm right there with you. I actually think the Dragons will pull up a fight. I think it's going to be a 13-plus still at the end. But I think the Dragons will hold up a fight.
I think Melbourne's defense will win them this game, and the Dragons won't score more than 2 tries because Bellamy was not happy with that performance last week from Melbourne.
Yeah, and they always base their whole game off of defense to start off with, even though they've been very much an attacking side to start this year. So do watch out for that Melbourne Storm side. They're going to be incredible. Yeah, shout out to Tans in the chat as well. Moving over to the Cowboys versus the Raiders is at Townsville. So the Raiders having to travel up to Townsville. No Morgan Smitty's in this lineup. The Cowboys pretty much the same top to bottom as well. Do you think the Cowboys bounce back after this poor start to the season?
The penny's got to drop eventually, doesn't it? And I think being back at home, it'll be nice and warm, hopefully, for them. And Canberra will struggle with the heat. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys in a close one.
I'm actually right there with you as well. I think this could be a little bit too big of a travel there for the Raiders. Might be a little bit too hot. Joseph Tarpanay actually is back in for the Raiders. Does that change anything for you?
It does, but nah, I'm still going to go with the heat. I'm playing on it. It's going to be hot, and the Cowboys need to make the penny drop. So Cowboys bounce back.
This could be a 1-point contest. I think it's going to be a real close one.
I think it'll be a very close one as well. I'd even say 1-6 Cowboys.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Hosea, if you find out, brother, let me know.
We're still trying to figure that out, brother. Moving over to your game of the weekend, bro. We got the Cronulla Sharks versus the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at Shark Stadium. That Shark Stadium, the more upgrades they're having, it's interesting how they're doing the apartments on the side there. Have you seen that? Very interesting.
I have seen that. Yes, I have seen that. I'd be curious to stay there one time.
Yeah, 100%. We might look at doing that in the future for sure. You guys are fairly unchanged by the looks of it here, and so are the Sharkies coming to the matchup. Why would you change a winning formula? How are you feeling coming to this contest going up against what a lot would say probably a top 4 side this year?
Yeah, look, after last week's performance, I'm a little bit flat. Like I said, you get the ugly wins. I'm happy for it. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about our attack scoring enough points. I believe our defense will hold the Cronulla Sharks into a tight one here. But I think we might get tipped off. I'm going to say the Sharkies won the 12 on this one. But I'll be watching and I'll be cheering on in complete faith for the boys. But yeah, I just think Sexton's kicking game, as good as it was and the meters he covered, it just wasn't setting us up really well for defensive sets. And we've seen the way that Cronulla bring the ball back as it is, let alone if Sexton's only getting to their 30 on kicks. They're going to be starting every set on the 50, and I think they just find enough field position to capitalize a bit more than we do.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think your defense can hold yourself into this contest here. You can frustrate the Sharkies, which I think that they haven't hit the ground fully running this season. There was a great performance last season to the Rabbitohs, but I think your defensive system is leagues above the Rabbitohs this year, even though they've scrambled fairly well. So I'm going to go a 1-12 contest as well, and I think that you can use or drag them into a gunfight, and I think that would be the best thing for the Sharkies for the season. If they can get out of it with a really nice victory after a real good struggle contest, I think they can learn a lot, especially when they're versing, the Penrith Panthers and stuff later on in final series. So
100%.
Be a good game for them. Moving over to probably the big game here, the Manly Seagulls versus the Parramatta Eels at 4 Pines. Tommy Turbo comes back to the lineup. No Taniela Paseka going down with an Achilles injury, which is really unfortunate. His year will be gone. Who have you got in this contest, and by how much?
Manly 20 plus.
I would feed that too. Shout out to Parramatta. Obviously, they had a really good little bounce last week where they tried their heart out, but this is going to be a big test.
Unless DC throws this contest to make up for the money that Manly's lowballing him.
Hey, Parramatta, do you want someone to pair up with Mitchell Moses? I'm right here.
Paying $6, I think Cherry Evans going to put $1 million on him and get the money out of them that way.
If he wants to do it, bro, go ahead and do it. Shout out Tim Simona as well. Yeah, I'm going the Manly Seagulls by a lot. So 4 Pines Manly is just on a different breed. And last game of the weekend is my game of the weekend here. The West Tigers versus the New Zealand Warriors over at Campbelltown Stadium. I think it's going to be a real close game. I think a lot of people are very excited on the Tigers to start the season. And I think I feel like we are still floating a little bit under the radar with some of our performances. I know our attack's not clicking to the fullest extent. We still scored 36 on Manly when we had the opportunities, but I think this is going to be a real dogfight. No Roger Tuivasa-Sheck with a hamstring injury. Rocco Berry comes in a center position that we all love to see. I think he's going to be great defensively on that side for us. For me, of course, I'm going to go my Warriors 1-12 because I think it's going to be a really tight contest here, and I think that the Tigers will be up for it. But what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I worry about Adam Pompey and defense, and we've seen Tigers have a bit of success on getting their wingers across the line the last few weeks. Taruva's bagged 5 tries in 2 weeks now, and I think Skelton's 2 tries in 3 weeks. They throw a nice little bit of shape there, and the smarts of Api Coruscant since he's been back into the team. I'm going to lean towards the Tigers just because of the travel. And I think RTS is another big leader gone. And Dylan Walker's obviously now not playing this week either. I'm going to go with Tigers 1-6.
Shout out to Tahi, bro. Skelton named at the moment, but there is rumors that he's not training currently with the squad. He's going to go through a fitness test, but Fa'atape has been running out there on the wing just in case he doesn't go in. So I'd feel a lot better with Fa'atape on the wing than Gerald Skelton because I think he's been big from the start of the season. So I'm going Warriors 1-12. I do believe that Sam Healy, in my opinion, Sam Healy will come to the bench. Now Dylan Walker's out, and he'll have that 1-2 punch with Wade Egan. How much time he gets, I'm not too sure. The other rumor going around is that Tamane Martin comes into our lineup at 14, which there's opportunity there for him as well. I don't know where we'll put him off the bench, but we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going Warriors 1-12, but West Tigers at home. It's going to be a tough test.
100%, brother, 100%.
All right, my bro. Anything more before we jet off, my bro? I'm so sorry. Yeah, my headphones are just about to die on me, but anything more you want to touch on?
No, that's all good, brother. And we're right at time that we try to aim for as well.
Yeah, beautiful. I love to see it. Really good show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Guys, make sure if you missed out on the show, rewatch the show. Obviously on YouTube, you're able to do so after the live stream finishes. Make sure you chuck in a chat all the players that your team has let go over the past that you're really sad on, and give us your thoughts on where DC will be going, in next year. It's definitely a big year there to see all the thoughts and the speculation of DC's career. It's probably not going to be the best thing for Manly, but it's going to be interesting as a content creator.
100%. It gives us something to talk about, right?
100%, brother, 100%. Thank you so much for tuning in as always, guys. Thank you so much, Brody, as always, jumping on and being the ultimate professional, dragging me out of my bed and be like, oi, we're on now, mate. Come on.
Get your shit together.
All right, brother. Take it easy, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend of footy. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night for our Supercoach show as well. And again, lastly, thank you so much to Wise Up TV for chucking everyone over to our live stream with the redirection feature. Amazing job. Thank you so much, guys. Take it easy, right?
100%. See you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.